Okay, here we are in part 3 of an audiotutes.com tutorial on sidechain routing, and this is sidechaining in Reason 4. To save time, I've set up most of the routing already. We've got our loop, the piano loop that we've been using, excuse me, and the kick drum. The piano loop is a Rex file, so it's playing back from a Dr. Rex loop player, and the kick drum is playing from the first module here in the redrum drum synthesizer or drum machine, and I've simply programmed a 4/4 beat in the step sequencer. The Rex file is playing back from a track here, so when I play this back it should sound exactly the same as the other sections of the tutorial, and you should hear the kick drum and the loop playing together. So there we have it, exactly the same as the other tutorials. Very simple stuff, 2 signals being mixed into the mixer. If we flip the rack, we can see that the drum machine's going into channel 2 and the Dr. Rex player is going into channel 1, both stereo. Currently no compressors in sight. What I'm going to do now is actually add the compressor that we're going to use for the sidechain. And it's under the M-class processors. You can see the M-class processors are in the second section, well, fourth section, but second main section of the instruments and processors that you can pick in Reason. These were introduced in the last version of Reason, as far as I'm aware, and this was the first time that sidechaining was available. If I right click on a device, it'll automatically route the compressor. So if we now flip that, this is now routed as an insert. The output of the Dr. Rex player is going into the input of the compressor, and the output of the compressor is going into the same channel as we had. So that should just play as before. If we zero this out, as we have done in previous sections, we should hear no gain reduction at all. Great, that's working fine. If we flip that over, again, we can see a sidechain input. This is the key input, as we were talking about before. And currently there's nothing going into there, so there's no sidechaining occurring, no key input occurring. So what we really want is some of that kick drum being routed into that sidechain. So what we can do is we can use one of the sends on the mixer. You could set up a second kick drum coming out of the second module and use this to go into the sidechain, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do a bit of an easier route. We're going to use send 1, and this is sort of similar to the way that Cubase does its sidechain input. We're using sends on the mixer in a very similar way. So flip this over, use our auxiliary send here, number 1, and go straight into the sidechain input. Now that's sending information to the compressor as a sidechain input, and you can see that the sidechain is active. Again, no gain reduction yet because we haven't dialed in any settings, but if I start to reduce the threshold and up the ratio, we should start to hear some nice pumping effect. And again, as with the Cubase compressor there, because we haven't adjusted the attack and release, it's a little bit jerky, it's a little bit edgy. So small amount of attack and quite a lot of release. We'll fine tune this as we go. And there you go, it's that easy. Let's have a quick look at the routing again. Dr. Rex player going into the input of the compressor, output of the compressor going straight into the mixer, so that's an insert. The send of the mixer going into the sidechain input. You can use anything you want to go into this sidechain input. This is just one way of doing it. You can use a spider splitter, if you like, to split the signal from the output of the drum machine to go to the mixer and to the sidechain input. You can use a second kick drum from this second module here to go to the sidechain input. You can really feed this with anything you like. It doesn't have to be a kick drum. It can be a vocal being ducked by a guitar. It can be a guitar being ducked by a drum sound. It can be a vocal, some music ducking when the vocal comes in. You know, if you're doing some kind of podcast or something like this. Really, the only limit to sidechaining is your imagination. This is simply how to do the routing and how to get the sidechains working in the various DAWs. Now we can really hear the effect here, though. If we start to reduce the filter settings and things like this, you can really hear how it can work in a track. And if we add delay before the sidechain, we can add quite a lot of delay. The sidechain will control the delay effect. Let's just have a quick look at this. Even though there's quite a long effects tail on there, you can hear the sidechain compressor is really keeping things in tow and making sure the kick drum comes through. Great for dance tracks, you know, can be used in rock tracks, electronica, anything you like really. And Reason's possibly one of the most simple DAWs to set up sidechaining in, and one of the best sounding, if I'm honest. Their compressor, their M-class compressors are a really great plug-in. And if you have Reason and you've got one of the other DAWs and you don't want to use Reason as your master DAW, you can route it into Logic or Cubase with Rewire. So that's another way of getting the sound of this M-class compressor in your chosen DAW. So I hope that's helped, and as always, post any comments and questions for me and I'll get back to you all as soon as I can. Okay.